So you said you are good.
Yeah, I mean, I've been definitely very relaxed on my carnivore journey this week. It's still difficult. I'm out of my routine. I'm not going to gym, and I'm not making myself a nice big steak every night. So last night I went out for dinner with family. The only things I could order on the menu that weren't pizza or a burger was like little tapas. So there was calamari and fish goujons and chicken skewers. So they were all deep fried. So that's obviously not good. Um, I didn't
Mm.
enjoy it really, to be honest. I was kind of missing my nice big steak that I'd rather
I
have
was that was
had.
yeah, that was going to be my next question. Is it yeah.
And then
Okay, so a
also
couple of
coffee. So I haven't
mhm.
had coffee in about 3 days, but I just felt like one now, so I made myself an espresso. But I don't have any issues with it. I just have
Nothing wrong
not
with that,
needed
yeah.
it much. Yeah.
So I think that there's a couple of tricks that you have to also still learn about eating in restaurants.
Yeah.
So if it was me and I had those choices, I would have said, bring me the burger,
And just take
but
off the
hold the
roll.
bun,
Yeah.
hold the bun, hold the whatever, etc., etc. Um,
But then you feel like you're
so
spending £20 for such a small piece of
yes,
meat because there's chips that you're not having and
correct. So
yeah.
that is the one thing. But that in my experience, even when I go to a steakhouse, when I can get a proper piece of meat,
Yeah.
I end up ordering more than you would usually order. So, for example, not too long ago, on one of the golf excursions, found myself in a place and I haven't had anything really to eat the whole day. So
Yeah.
that night I was really hungry. And I know what a 500-gram T-bone looked like. And it's not as impressive as it sounds. So I ordered two.
Okay.
So obviously then you pay for two. And then you
Mm-hmm.
feel like exactly what you said. Wow, I just spent a shit ton of money. But you
Mm.
know what? I would much rather spend that additional kind of few rands and still feel good in the morning
Yeah. Yeah.
than kind of going for the other options. But I get what you say. You do feel like, okay, cool. I'm actually now spending so much money
Yeah.
on.
But
I'm not going to eat 75% of what's on the
yeah.
plate.
But I suppose I'm also saving money because I haven't ordered a takeaway in 3 weeks. We used to have a couple of
Yep,
takeaways a night. I mean, a week,
100%.
not a night, a couple of takeaways a week. So that's probably 6, 7 nights worth of takeaways I haven't spent money on. Um, I'm not spending money, as you said, on all the other stuff. It's just meat, good quality
Correct.
meat. And um, so, yeah, I suppose you can when you go out once in a blue moon spend a bit
Yeah,
more money for a bit less food. I don't
and
know.
exactly what you said now. I mean, you didn't enjoy it.
Yeah,
You would have done better,
felt like a
and
waste.
that it felt like a waste. You don't feel like you've had a proper meal. The way that you cook your steak is much tastier than anything that you can order. So you
Yeah,
get to that point as well, and that means that you actually start going out for dinner less.
yeah,
Prefer to have your meals at home. If you do go out with other people, you kind of know, okay, cool, then let me eat something before I go.
yeah,
So while I'm there, I'm not that hungry. Then I can order something small off the menu.
yeah,
I know I'm not going to be grumpy later because I'm really hungry or whatever. Anyway, a couple of tips and tricks. The other thing that I also um, use is if I do order certain foods that I know that they will typically cook in oil, I ask them to cook it in butter.
Okay.
I make the point to tell them that I'm allergic to seed oils.
Yeah.
The moment that you say that, because they can be held liable if you warn them that you are
Yeah.
allergic to something and they so but generally people I think are very accommodating when it comes to something like that.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Ask them to prepare your food in butter.
Yeah. Okay.
Uh,
I'll learn.
anyway,
Like I said, this
yeah,
was the first occasion where we went out.
yes,
So, um,
yeah,
and there weren't many options. I was looking for a steak on the menu and there wasn't one. So, yeah.
correct. Yeah, okay. That's all part of the journey. All
Yeah.
part of the
Yeah.
journey.
But otherwise, I'm feeling fine. I'm still waking up.
Fine.
I'm still waking up before my alarm.
That's
Um,
good.
I'm feeling tired today though, which is why I've got a coffee. I don't know. I think it's just
Okay.
been a busy. My parents have been here for a week. My niece has been here for a week. We've been doing a lot of things. Um,
And
and
also, and
yeah,
also, you only had a small greasy meal last night.
yeah, yeah. Oh, that's a good point. Okay, that's
You
but
underfed.
but I did have a nice bacon and eggs this morning.
Okay.
Made up for it,
Okay.
so I should be back on track. A little bit of biltong for
Okay.
lunch.
Yes.
um,
Okay.
yeah, so
Cool. Okay.
good. Um,
So you say you want to ask about.
well, just because your answer to how are you today seemed a little bit low energy, and I know you had spoken about good energy in your, I've been thinking.
Yeah, that's right. So it is not that I have low energy. Um, I actually didn't have a particularly good sleep last night. Reason being, I got home quite late, then had to prepare food. It kind of took me a little bit out of my regular schedule. I then stayed up and watched Olympics,
Yeah.
and then for I can't really tell why I didn't have a good sleep. Um, also, my Whoop says that my recovery for today is like only 38% or something like that. Anyway, so maybe it was with that in mind. I got up at my normal time this morning, um, exercised. Initially, I thought I'm going to battle because I felt like, ooh, I didn't have good sleep,
Yeah.
but I was actually fine. And I've actually had a pretty productive day. Um, not low on energy, feel that I can't focus and that sort of thing. I think the reason I said I'm just okay is more about just the madness going on in the world around us, which is again something something that I wrote about in my. I've been thinking about. Um, don't let things bug you, especially the things that you don't have control over.
Yeah, what was the quote you used there? You are precisely as big as what you love and precisely as small as what you allow to annoy you. Robert Anton
Yes.
Wilson.
Robert Anton Wilson, by the way, is worth Googling. I also didn't know him, but sounds like a very interesting character. Wrote a couple of books, so maybe there's some reading material
Okay.
for you.
Yeah.
Um, but anyway, so yes, so I'm aware of these things, and yet I kind of have this feeling, which is I'm sure very temporary. So when you asked how I am, I could have said I'm fine, but yeah.
Yeah.
that wouldn't have been true. So hence my I'm okay.
Yeah.
Anyway, that's just, I don't know, a very temporary thing, I think.
Yeah.
That is really true. The quote. I'm also just trying to get it here in front of me. Um, oh, do you want to read it again, please?
You are precisely as big as what you love and precisely as small as what you allow to annoy you.
Yeah. It really spoke to me.
How did you come across it?
I don't know. I
So I
can't
sometimes get some
remember.
little quotes in my daily journal. There's like a quote listed at the bottom of my
Yeah.
journal every day. So sometimes some of those jump out at me.
No, no. This I'm pretty sure this must have been on X somewhere that I saw this.
Or on a James Clear email.
No, no, it wasn't. If it was, I would have kind of like
Yeah.
made sure that I give him credit for that. Um, but anyway, for me, the focus is if you're as big as what you love. So, what are the things that you love? What are the things that are they the type of things that make you feel big? Make you feel proud, make you feel strong, make you feel, I don't know, good about, and so on, versus the things that I allow um, to annoy me.
Yeah.
And I really feel that it is so true that these things make you small. Um, an example of that is I am annoyed about some infrastructure issues that we have to deal with.
Mm-hmm. You mean where you live?
Yeah,
Or okay.
it's just the usual shit. Traffic lights not working,
Potholes.
potholes. Amazingly, potholes slightly better in our area,
Okay.
but traffic light that hasn't been working for, I don't know, weeks. You think to yourself, well, how is this so difficult to? Anyway, so those are the type of things that do not let that drag you down. Then there are bigger things about, um, and I don't know exactly where to draw the line in terms of these are the things that just make you small. Um, I'm kind of seen in the light of the line of insanity, Well, if it's out
Yeah.
of your control, why would you do? So, for example, the politics, just
Mm-hmm.
politics in general, and the absurdity of politics. Should I just say, listen, this you're allowing this to make you small, and then I don't know, then what? Then don't give a shit.
Mm.
I'm not sure. I'm not sure where to draw the line there.
Yeah.
Anyway, I'm
It
trying
just
to
I don't
focus on
That
the
just made me
things that I
think of
love.
the viral clip of the ministers getting sworn in recently in South Africa, and that one minister that couldn't say conscientiously. Have you seen that?
I have, I have.
Anyway.
I also thought it's maybe not only a linguistic problem, but anyway, more of a
Yeah.
moral thing that. And,
Um,
but- and, and again,
yeah.
it's not here. It is not here. You see this new Democratic vice presidential candidate, which is now. You
I
know,
don't even know
every,
his name.
yeah, Tim Waltz, I think.
Yeah, okay.
It's
Someone.
just because it's been plastered all over my
Yeah.
X feed this morning. But yeah, look, not just him,
Yeah.
all of them. You know,
Yeah.
the old joke about how do you know a politician is lying is his lips are moving. So
Mm-hmm.
just feels like it is so true.
Yeah.
Anyway,
Oh, what
those are the
time?
type of things that we can't get away from.
It must have been in a Daily Stoic this week, earlier this week. I'm still reading that every morning. Um,
Hmm.
there was a thing about Abraham Lincoln about how everyone respects him because he was by whatever he seemed to be a good politician, someone who actually gave a damn, and that's what surprised us about him. Not that he was a good man, but that he was a good man and a politician. Because we
Yeah.
expect politicians not to be good men. Which is, I don't know, I can't remember the whole thing about the quote, but it was something about him.
Yeah, look, you know, I've got lots of thoughts about these political, well, obviously, as you'll kind of see in some of the other things that I wrote as well.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but it is something that I'm thinking a lot about
Yeah.
because you ask anybody, you know, can you trust politicians? And they go, no. But when it comes election time, they go and vote.
Yeah.
And I'm one of those. I went and I stood in the queue from
Yeah.
early in the morning in the bitter cold to make sure that I can. But you don't trust the bastards.
Yeah.
So I don't know. This is like a little bit of a. Um, and also, if I just look at what supposedly intelligent individuals, and I don't necessarily have one particular or few particular people in mind here, but just in general, you know, people who, if I look at who I think of as intelligent human beings and people that have achieved success in life, etc., or leaders, if I look at some of the solutions that they come up with in terms of how do we solve the political problems, um, then I think, well, you just you're just playing the same game.
Mm-hmm.
It's not a real solution.
Yeah.
And I have this nagging feeling that the real solution um, is unpalatable.
Get rid of all the politicians.
Wow, what do you replace them with?
I don't
What do you
know.
replace them with? You see, that's exactly it.
Mm.
You know, good old Winston Churchill. Democracy is the worst form of government except for all the others.
Yeah.
And anyway, so I have some questions, and I will obviously get back to that one.
Feel like
Um,
everyone in the whole world should read Speculator. Not Speculator, the last one, Assassin. The one about
Assassin,
the politics, yeah.
yes, yes. Um, anyway, the next thing I wrote about is altruism. It's a weapon of exploitation.
That sounds very Ayn Rand.
It is. It is very Ayn Rand because it speaks to the libertarian way of thinking,
Yeah.
and I think also very much in terms of views around selfishness.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
about how every action
So
you take should be for the benefit of someone else, not yourself. I mean, that's not her thoughts, but that's what she calls out. That's what
yeah, that's
society
exactly
wants. That's
correct. That's exactly
yeah.
what altruism is. This is
Yeah.
altruism. supposedly refers to the selfless concern for the well-being of others. It involves acting out of a desire to help others without expecting any reward or benefit in return. And the moment that you do not do that, you are called out as selfish.
Selfish. Yeah. So, I mean, we've spoken
You
about this
are,
100 times, but like, why has selfish got such a bad rap? Why did selfish become a bad thing?
well,
Like the worst
you know,
thing.
it is supposedly the worst thing. So
Yeah.
in what context do you encounter the concept? In religion,
Yeah.
you must sacrifice yourself for the
Mm.
whatever.
And
You are
tithing, I
nothing.
mean, you have to give 10% of your wages to the church just because. And
That's not, yeah, that's also not even entirely true. I mean, if you go and read
hmm
the Bible properly, there's a slightly different. But anyway, um, but just the concept and the idea, and then um, the other thing that so religion and politics. Politics is the other one where you also find it, and that is socialist, communist, because how can you want more than your brother or your sister or your. And we have all seen how that play out.
yeah.
And yet they keep on trying again and again and again. But, I definitely see it as a way to exploit people. I mean,
You're
it
saying
is one of the,
altruism is a way to exploit people. That's what you're saying.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Okay.
So in other words, I mean, it is one of the quickest ways to get you to feel shit about yourself
Yeah.
is just to ask them, are you being selfish? You don't really have to do more, do you?
Mm.
Or to just point out the fact that you um, want a new pair of shoes is really selfish because there are so many people that have to do without.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
extremely common. That's extremely common.
It's almost a habit to justify spending. I'm thinking about when I bought a car, like thinking of all the reasons why I deserved the car, why I needed to have that car. It's like you have to have a reason for it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway, so like I said there, I'm just done being manipulated to feel bad for what I think or do or have, and what I don't think or do or have, and what I should think or do or have.
hmm
Because even down to our thoughts, people are telling us that we shouldn't think like this.
Yeah.
Anyway, we are being exploited.
What's Ayn Rand's word for selfishness? Um, Not selfishness. She calls it something self-interest.
Yeah, self.
Something.
So I like the idea and the concept of self-interest. You
Yeah.
see, and I think if we understand this properly, if I whatever I do, if um, I mean, there's always a couple of examples that people can um, refer to. Let me
Rational self-interest. There we go. That's what it is.
rational
Yeah.
self-interest. Correct. Yeah, that is such a beautiful way to think about it. But if you think about, I don't know, people that built phenomenal businesses throughout the history of the world, people that did, I don't know, even before the industrial age and so on. what would you call them? You would call them, I'm thinking of guys like Genghis Khan, um, and some of the Chinese emperors, those different dynasties, etc., etc. So even though those guys were mostly nomadic and warmongers, because if you, um, I
Dictators.
don't know, you can call them dictators as well, yeah, I suppose, because they dictated what you were allowed to do and what you weren't allowed to do. However, a lot of those guys advanced civilization in their own way.
Mm-hmm.
So Genghis Khan, first guy to come up with the idea of post office. One of the little things that they did. Um, the Mongol Empire actually a hell of a lot of things, but even later on, then so you can go kind of like from those days. There were always individuals that stood up. It was never a committee. It was never a
Mm.
bunch of elected officials, but
That
individuals
no
that
one
stood up.
elects.
Correct. And said, okay, you know what, we're going to do this. Henry Ford, with his famous example of, if I asked my customers what they wanted, they all would have
They
said a
say
faster
faster
horse.
horse, yeah.
Correct.
Yeah.
And so we get up to the modern times and so on, and the people that we, at the moment, obviously look up to Elon Musk and Jeff Bezos and whoever else. Um, as always, individuals. They may not be liked by everybody. Um, Not everybody is going to agree with them. And I'm not saying that they don't have certain things that they can improve on, etc. But by and large, you look at the difference that they make in the world. Now, if you take out, if you say that there was no Bill Gates, there was no Steve Jobs, there was no Elon Musk, there was no Jeff Bezos. We just think of the number of jobs
Mm-hmm.
where people earn a living, where they can take care of their families, where they can, okay.
Yeah.
But people are very quick to point out that I don't like this person's politics, or I don't like the fact that this guy uh, has got a yacht that is, $300 million or whatever.
Yeah.
Um, and and that ties into this whole concept and notion of, you know what, you know, they manipulate, they exploit, they, um, I mean, we see that in South African context, um, when we talk about mine workers, for example. It's like these guys all want to earn whatever the CEO of the mine earns, because they're the ones that go underground and do the hard labor, etc.,
Yeah.
etc. Well, again, if it wasn't for
Well, yeah.
somebody to figure out how do we safely operate there 2 kilometers below the surface of the earth,
Yeah.
and there are lots of other countries where that happened as well. Um, you see, so it's not just limited to one industry or one specific country or whatever. It is a
Yeah.
very universal thing. And then the socialists and the communists come and they say, no, no, no. It's not just about equal opportunity. It's about equal outcome. And that sounds great, because if we, yeah, why don't we all have X, Y, and Z, etc. Until we get to that point where we realize, well, if it isn't for people who push the limits, who invent new things, who do, and
Yeah.
undertake risky businesses, etc., etc. The rest of us don't get the benefit, and then we all end up with pretty much nothing.
Yeah.
Anyway, so it's not really. I just it's not a new thing. It's just something that seems to be all over. I mean, the candidate of the Democratic Party, Kamala Harris, she's been the vice president now for 3.5 years.
I've never seen her. Like in
Um,
the 3.5
no,
years that Joe Biden was president, she was always in the background. I don't hear her say anything or do anything. Or
um, look, I can send you some links to some of the clips of her cackling. You don't want to hear, you actually want. However, when you actually hear her say that she is all for equal outcomes, she is a communist through and through. Um, anyway, look, it's just one prominent politician. Honestly, I can unfortunately not name them because I don't give a shit really about who is in the South African cabinet. Um, but that same line of thinking is,
yeah.
I think, probably 80% of the people who are stuffing their pockets um, sit with that same kind of ideology.
Yeah.
Anyway,
I'm sure they wouldn't want to share their salary with the
no, 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 no,
the
no.
lowest.
No, 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 no. There's always, and even at the height of communism in the USSR, it was the us and them.
Yeah.
It was never really true communism in the sense of equal outcomes.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, if you need
Anyway,
any arguments for why socialism doesn't work, then read Atlas Shrugged or even just read a synopsis of Atlas Shrugged.
yeah,
Anyway,
even if you don't want to bother and actually read about some of the countries and the horrific things that happened under that reign. Anyway, so that kind of leads into the next thing that I wrote there about majority rule. Where I said that the will of the majority leads to mediocrity, stagnation, and then decline. Majority are not capable of thinking through the consequences of the choices that they make. Then I state the obvious there, the bureaucrats know that and they exploit it. So the will of the majority, if you think about, I don't know, how many countries have had elections just in the recent past? Um, quite a few. People go to vote and they then say that the majority has spoken and we put certain people in positions of power. And then we immediately go back to complaining
yeah,
because nothing has really changed, nothing is improving. Everybody is, the cost of living just keep on rising. Unemployment just kind of, etc., etc. So in other words, the people that go and vote, the majority that is given the opportunity to go and um, to have a say in who governs them, don't think about the second and the third order consequences.
hmm
Most of the time, they actually don't even bother to know the minimum about
Yeah.
the party or the individual that they think they vote for.
It's definitely a trend here. It's they only vote for the other party to get rid of the one that's in that hasn't done what they said they were going to do.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And look where that got them now.
Mm.
Look, I don't really think that. So in the case of the UK, whether if there was no election in what was it 2 months ago, or yeah, it's 2 months ago, right?
Yeah, I think it's June.
If would things have been different with the riots
No, it was July,
and
4th of July.
the yes, with the riots or the civil unrest? I don't think we can just describe that to the new government because the problem existed before this government took office.
Yeah.
The actions that they are taking now, I mean, that's obviously very much dictated from the top. Um, but anyway, so people that went to vote on the 4th of July didn't think through the second and the third order consequences of if this type of thing happens, what will be the reaction of this government because of their, I don't know, core values? I mean, such a laughable concept, core values, in, you know, for politicians or for
Well, in any
parties.
mass, I feel like in any mass group, how can you all share the same core
Yeah,
I
yeah,
don't
yeah,
know.
exactly,
Yeah.
exactly. Um, so, and it's also just so easy to ascribe the problem to a nameless, faceless group of people.
Yeah.
So the government, the police,
The
the
right-wing
whatever.
conservative or the
Yes,
yeah.
correct. Yeah, I see they've tried a few terms now in the UK.
Hmm.
First, it was the right wing. I don't know.
Right-wing
So
extremists, I think that's what they might have called
correct,
them in the
right wing
beginning.
extremists.
Yeah.
Yes, people who say, "Please don't fuck up my town." Please, my family's been here for
Yeah.
300 years. Please allow us to stay here. They are now right wing extremists. So, anyway, they,
I mean, some of them are just hooligans. Those three that got
no,
jail
of course,
sentences absolutely deserved their jail sentences for the Southport riots, but
of course, there will
yeah.
always be those
Hooligans,
type of,
extremists, yeah.
but anyway, so just back to the point that I
Yeah.
wanted to make about, people don't think about that. People don't think of the people that I'm putting in power. Um, you know, how will they react and what will be the
Yeah.
consequences of those actions? And I think it kind of just spirals. Again, I don't know what the solution to the problem is. To think about what is this other political system, because I honestly feel like we are entering a period where people will look at democracy and go, nice experiment, but it didn't really work.
Yeah.
I honestly think that we are getting closer and closer to that point.
So then what's the next experiment?
I have no idea.
Yeah.
I have no idea because, like anybody else, I'll be the first one to say, geez, don't take away the little say that I have.
Hmm.
But in saying that, I know that my vote didn't count.
Yeah.
Even if I voted for the whoever is in power, the system is so fucked up that you you vote for a party, not for individuals. So I think where it could become I can think of lots of ways to improve it, the system. So, for example, um, if you vote the party, you vote for the party. The second round would be to vote for the the cabinet.
Yeah, the leaders
Okay.
and
Well, not just. I think that who is the Minister of Finance should be public vote.
yeah.
It's not just whoever has got the
Some
best
guy who has no
connections and
financial background whatsoever or know
there we
anything
go.
about, yeah.
Of
And
course.
the Minister of Agriculture has never set foot on a farm and
And the Minister of Education has never set foot in a school. And all of these
conscientiously.
things. So
Yeah.
yes. So I think that if we do things like that, we've got a better chance. And then
Yeah.
I think these people should be held accountable.
Yeah, there should
People
be
should be held.
KPIs,
Well, they
metrics.
have KPIs. They have freaking budgets.
Yeah.
What do they
But
do?
there's no
There's no,
repercussion
in
if they
other,
don't.
there's
Yeah.
correct. There's no repercussion. There's always all these excuses. There's this false pretense of the government can actually create jobs.
Mm.
No, they can't. It's not their function. It shouldn't be their job. They should stay clear from the. Anyway, so there are quite a lot of things that, and I think Warren Buffett actually many years ago came up with the idea that to say that if you want government to live within its means, you would just make a rule to say that people cannot stand for re-election if if they exceed the previous year's budget.
Yeah.
So let's say, for example, you give them a margin. Say, listen, it's the budget. You are allowed to 5%. We'll allow 5%, obviously, if it is explained, if there's, I don't know, floods or hurricanes or whatever, etc.
Yeah.
There's some emergency and so on.
COVID.
But yeah, if you blow the
Yeah.
budget and you don't deliver, then you're not allowed to stand for re-election. See, if a rule like that was in place, there was no friggin' ways Joe Biden would have been in government for
Mm.
50 odd years,
Mm.
55 years. And again, you can go around the globe and find people that have been in government for many, many decades. So I think that there are ways to improve it. But
Yeah.
as long as people, as the majority, do not think about these things, and the bureaucrats know it and they actually exploit it, then we're not going to change the system. So it's almost like the same as the altruism. We're not allowed to say democracy is flawed because then what are you?
Yeah. Then you're a communist or something else.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
you're a communist. Yeah. Anyway, um, I think the last one that I just want to touch on here is I don't know who Gunnar Fryer is, but I saw a quote from him that said that the value of a moment is only fully realized when it becomes a memory. And that was beautifully put, in my
Yeah.
opinion.
What does the
So I
HT
thought that
stand for? Sorry, just well, you wrote HT next to it.
hat tip, hat
Hat
tip to
tip.
Gunnar Fryer.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, 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 the value of a moment is only fully realized when it becomes a memory. It's like if you kind of go through your memory bank,
Hmm.
you pick out some of these. I think that then you realize that there are some of those moments that while you were there and while it was happening, you couldn't really grasp what that was going to mean to you later once it's a
Yeah.
memory. and once we kind of look back at it. But then I also go a little bit further and I say that we mustn't judge the moment. We must give it time and allow it to turn into a memory. Because especially if something's unpleasant, we want to get out of it immediately.
Mm-hmm.
We don't want to give it a chance. Um, but allow the moments to turn into memories. And then we must evaluate those memories with brutal honesty,
Yeah.
which I think is the other thing that we don't necessarily do. We don't uh, evaluate them with brutal honesty.
Yeah.
Um, there may be lots of reasons for that. Maybe you don't want to be controversial. Maybe you don't want to sound ungrateful. Maybe you don't want to, I don't know, offend somebody. Um, but your memory of your meal last night, okay, for example, you should be able to judge that with brutal honesty.
Yeah.
Um,
It's actually quite funny how your mind changes, because I remember seeing calamari come to the table and thinking that looks delicious. And last night when I saw it come to the table, I thought that looks really oily. It doesn't look that delicious.
so, so in other words, you can still have the the memory of I had a good time with family and friends
Yeah.
and so on and so forth, but the food was shit.
I won't be going back there.
I won't be going back there. And I really think that too often we don't go to that level.
Yeah.
Maybe not even for ourselves. I'm not saying that you must, as soon as we're done here, send a WhatsApp to that family group and express your your dismay with the food. But I, I don't think we always allow ourselves that brutal honesty when
Yeah,
judging our memories. I don't know. Maybe I
interesting.
was very nostalgic. I'm trying to think if there was a nostalgic type of moment that made me
Did
think
you have a
about that.
moment in your mind or a memory in your mind that you were attributing it to?
No, no. It was just like I say when I read that sentence, it really just stood out, and I thought it
Mm,
was beautifully phrased. I thought, shit, you know what? It's just something that I think I must put into the memory banks. And like I said earlier, especially when we find ourselves in what we think are negative situations,
yeah,
I think we're very quick to judge them.
yeah,
Um, Whereas if we look back at the memory, we go, well, you know what, I actually learned the following out of that experience, and it wasn't pleasant, and this is how I should do it differently, and etc., etc.
yeah.
Uh,
I have a good example of
anyway,
that. Let's Be
yes,
Frank
yes,
podcast, version one. When we
yeah,
did it originally, I remember at times it really felt like a slog, because we were trying to pick a topic every week and prepare for it. And towards the end of that, I was actually quite relieved when it ended, when we didn't bring it back. And
okay,
then 2, 3 years down the line, I was looking at some of the old episodes and I was like, actually, this was such a fun thing. It was a good learning experience. I enjoyed the topics we spoke about. I want to do it again. And it had become like a really
okay,
good memory. And I reached out to you so that we could revisit Let's Be Frank version 2. And I'm
fantastic,
enjoying it so much more this time around. I think the attitude is
yeah,
different. We don't put so much pressure on ourselves for it to be a certain way. Um,
correct,
I think we're also, maybe it's the dynamics different because I'm not working with you anymore, but it's like I feel like I can be more honest and more open. And I think both of us have gotten more comfortable with saying things that might not appeal to everyone all the time.
Yeah, you're right. I mean, there might be a couple of factors there in terms of we don't really feel pressure to add value to anybody.
Yeah, just a chat.
This is just a chat, you know, and it'll be quite interesting to see where it evolves to next,
Yeah, I
because
was gonna say, yeah,
I do feel that there is um, another
iteration.
evolution, yeah, another iteration
Yeah,
that that I don't know. Hopefully, it comes naturally,
yeah.
but we'll know when it's at a point to
No.
say, listen, let's
What's
try the
next?
following.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
I was actually going to say our good news project didn't last very long. That's
No,
obviously
the good.
not where our strength lies in looking for the positives and talking about those things.
It's not that I've given up on that. It is
Yeah,
something that I honestly every day keep my eye open for. Um, Try to find something positive to talk about.
yeah,
Now, I, I think it's just fair to say that it's not like there are no positives in my life. There's a hell of a lot of
yeah,
positives in my life. It's like, I don't know, 99% of my day is just positive,
yeah,
you know? Um, so it's not like it's doom and gloom and whatever, but we're looking for these, or we were hoping to find these kind of bigger things in terms
global,
of,
yeah,
geez, humanity is not going to fuck it up completely and
implode.
end up like the dinosaurs. I
Yeah,
think that's the kind of thing that I'm looking for. I don't
yeah.
know, that ray of hope or that ray of sunshine, and so on.
I
So
don't
maybe
think we
we
have a
must.
negative podcast. When we talk about things that
No,
we
not
care
at all.
about, carnivore diet or health or wellness or intellectual things or books that we've read, I think we are positive about a lot of things. But it's like you
Yeah,
say, it's the kind of looking for the big global positive stories that is a struggle.
yeah.
The Olympics.
Let's.
Olympics are fun to watch. I'm just reading the end of
Oh,
your I've been thinking.
the Olympics has given me so much joy this week.
Yeah.
I mean, just look at the achievements of some of those athletes. Did you by chance see the wall climb?
I saw a clip of the guy just
Good
going up
heavens.
like a little spider monkey.
Initially, I saw
Yeah.
the women's was the day before the men's, and I saw a clip of I think it's a Polish lady that she scaled that wall in 6.09 seconds, and I thought phenomenal. And then you see the guy do it in 4.3 or something like that.
Yeah.
It
You
is,
saw his
uh,
competitors just kind of give up halfway up. It's like,
yeah,
no, not even gonna try.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So, I mean, there are obviously these phenomenal skills, in sports like that, which is very, very new sport, I think, or relatively new sport in the Olympics, to the more traditional, like the men's discus last
Hmm.
night, you know, like really phenomenal to watch these guys
Yeah.
and the precision with which they execute it. And the ladies' pole vault, I think, was also last night.
Yeah.
Um, um, so yeah, no, a, a lot of fun, and really sad to see that we're 3 days away from the end of it,
Yeah.
and then it's another
But
4 year wait.
there's rugby this weekend at
Yes,
5 in the
yes,
morning, 6 for you.
yeah. So no, there's definitely lots of sporting activity to look forward to.
Yeah.
Anyway, wonderful.
Cool.
Thanks,
Thank
Ellie.
you, Herman.
Okay.